How you doing, Chewbacca? You still hanging around with this loser? Hello, what have we here?
Welcome into Dragon Ball Super Dope. My name is Kyle. Thank you for checking this out. Joined today by my friend Raysean, the man, the myth, the legend. Ray, how you doing? Peace. You can't say peace at the beginning of the show, dude. That's what you say at the end.
It's my catchphrase now. I'm gonna start saying it in the beginning now. Peace.
I think it'd be way funnier if you made it your catchphrase, so that way you could always make an early exit.
Oh man. I would love to be able to do that in some certain people pods, because I'm not a long podcasting person. I don't know if people know that about me, but I know you know that. I'm not a long podcast.
What's great about today's episode is that it is meant to be short fucking form primarily. It's good to check in with the Dragon Ball Super Dope audience, because we haven't put on an episode since April 20th? It's been March 20th? My bad. March 20th? Is that when the last chapter came out? I think it was.
Oh, yeah, it's been a minute.
Yeah, it's been a full 2 months. Yeah.
But which still is a long time, Dragon Ball time.
Yeah. For Super Dope, it's a really long time. We've taken a couple of long breaks like that, like 3, 4, 5 months, maybe, like once or twice before, but this has been an unintentional break. I keep thinking to myself, like, I'm going to sit down to record a Super Dope soon, and I never do. And part of it is like, what do you even talk about? You know, what's worth sitting down to record for an hour about, you know, or getting a gang of people together. I don't want to just do random Dragon Ball topics, because that requires time that I don't really have, because I'm a little, stretched thin at the moment, but we're getting through it. But me and Raysean recorded an episode of his show last night covering the Garlic Jr. saga, and I'm very much in Dragon Ball mode this week. And I was talking on the phone with Raysean early this afternoon, and I'm like, yeah, man, I'm trying to work up the will to record a Super Dope. He's like, do it. I'm like, yeah, I'm thinking about it. He's like, no, just do it. I was like, I don't know. I just don't have the will to talk to myself for an hour. He's like, I'm down. I'm like, you're down to sit with me? When? And we were like, right now. So that's what's happening right now. This episode is going to be little bits and pieces of news, primarily, that have come out about Dragon Ball in the last couple months. It's going to be mostly me just telling it to Raysean and him being like, that's interesting. And then me telling him some more about it.
That's
also
funny.
I do want to talk briefly about X-Men 97 in a mostly spoiler-free way at the end of the episode, because I seriously almost sat down to do a Dragon Ball Super Dope episode just about X-Men, and I still maybe I won't promise that, but there is a lot of heavy Dragon Ball Z influences in that show. Besides the fact that it's just so amazing, especially if you grew up an X-Men fan. Even if you're just like a general Marvel fan, you never messed with the X-Men much when you were younger, the show's so goddamn cool, even if you didn't watch the original show. Anyway, I digress. Oh, the other thing about today's episode is Raysean is currently on a very serious Elton John binge, which is great. Elton John's one of the greatest songwriters of all time. I celebrate your newfound obsession with Benny and the Jets and several other Elton John songs. But in an effort for me to be able to continue to recommend Elton John songs to you, right? I usually have like music going in my ear while I do a lot of podcasts, because I have like, I'm thinking about shit, whatever. But I'm going to throw on Elton John's greatest hits. I believe it's from 1970 through 2002. So 32 years of Elton John songs are about to start in my ear. And we're going to carry on the show, but occasionally there's going to come a song that's a fucking banger. And I'm going to be like, Raysean, you better go listen to fucking Crocodile Rock. Can't wait for Crocodile Rock to come on. Although that song's a little distracting and I might sing along to it karaoke style. So maybe I got to like be Spotify wizard and be hitting next on certain tracks. Either way, let's do this. First song, it's called Your Song. All right, so Your Song's playing in my ear right now as I pull up this Dragon Ball news for you. Hello, what have we here? So Raysean, Sparking Zero, man. I priced out my PlayStation the other day that I'm going to buy for when Sparking Zero drops. It's going to cost me at least $500, and I think it's ridiculous that I basically only buy game consoles for the sake of playing Dragon Ball games. Yeah. But people are thinking, I think due to, I believe it was like some
his death will probably make that, might make that a little higher.
It was already going to be huge. Honestly, if he died or didn't, I think it's going to be equally as huge whether he lived or died. Anyway, they're thinking that it's going to come out around October, which is right in line with when Dragon Ball Daima comes out. So That makes a lot of sense. They're probably going to dominate the last quarter of the year in terms of IP. And hopefully it carries over into 25 and maybe they'll restart Dragon Ball Super, everybody. Fingers crossed. But regardless,
that would be nice.
They're thinking October for the Spark and Zero update. Also, and this doesn't really factor into you and
it's
me.
Supposed to be like a normal like Budokai type of fighting game, you know, if I'm remember. Okay, so it's gonna be like all the characters. So okay, I wonder what the sparkling. What's the edge with that? Is it like the graphics or something?
Nah. So back in the day when they did Dragon Ball Budokai series and they did Budokai Tenkaichi. Budokai Tenkaichi was a game series in Japan called Dragon Ball Sparking. And when they brought it over to America and they imported it, I think Activision did it. I could be wrong. Because they wanted to build off of the last success of the last 3 games that came out. So they wanted to treat it like a part 4, 5, and 6. So instead of Budokai, they renamed it Budokai Tenkaichi and just started it again. Budokai Tenkaichi 1, 2, and 3. But in Japan, they were always called Sparking. But what's notable about this release to me is that all of the Dragon Ball Japanese marketing stuff coming out about it, they go out of their way to not call it just Sparking Zero, but also Budokai Tenkaichi. Like, they are so cognizant of how to appeal to a more global audience and realize that a humongous chunk of that audience is in the West. So, makes sense.
Yeah, I thought you were going to tell me Taki. Damn. That last word meant sparkling. Takeichi.
Tenkaichi?
Takeichi meant sparkling.
Tenkaichi means strongest under the heavens. Budokai means tournament.
Strongest under the... Oh, is that what that is amazing. I never knew that. That's what the whole Earth tournament is about?
Yeah,
the strongest under the heavens?
It's called the strongest under the heavens tournament. But in Japanese, that's Tenkaichi Budokai.
I learn something every time I come on these podcasts, man.
Dude, I keep telling you, and I said this to you and Josh and Brad on your show last night. All you dudes are like, y'all motherfuckers are talking about these goofy ass dub lines. Like, why would they say that? Why would they call Krillin Humphrey Bogart? I'm like, I'll tell you why. Because you fucking idiots watch the dubs.
I'm gonna tell you. When you whatever, I feel like I've said this before, whatever I started watching a show in, no matter what, I'm always gonna like, that's always gonna be my most nostalgia thing. So like, the funny thing is to me, like, I always go back to the Ocean dub. Like, I never really listen to any of the new dubs. I don't really go listen to Kai. I go always back to the original Ocean dub. Like, I don't know. I have a feeling, but I have tried watching sub because I mean the last episode we did before we did Garlic Jr., where we were just talking about like the end of Frieza arc and everything. I was referencing the difference between the two things, which is it's almost like almost different show, low key. And that's like one thing I will say, and then that's not for like every show. Like the sub and the dub is a different show, almost a different show. But in that part of Dragon Ball, it was like, okay, that's pretty interesting.
I understand what you mean by always having the preference of what you originally watched it with. So like Ranma 1/2, when I was 4 or 5 years old, starting to watch that show, I watched it in the dub on my VHS tapes that cost $25 for 2 episodes. I'm so old. But whenever I rewatch Ranma or put on an episode randomly, because a lot of it is available for free on YouTube, I always look for a dub because the dub actors are what I know and it's natural and it's comfortable. I also feel the same way about Cowboy Bebop. But I always prefer the Cowboy Bebop dub. But also those 2 shows did much more faithful, accurate, loyal localizations to the dubs than Dragon Ball ever did. True. So I think that's why I do have a little bit of nostalgia for some of that OG Funimation Ocean dub stuff, because I also bought videotapes of that shit too, because they released them several months before they aired on television. So we'd buy those too. That's why I have such a fucking hard on for that period where Trunks comes in for the first part, because like I bought those tapes before they aired on TV and I was like, this is so cool. But the majority of my experience or exposure to Dragon Ball Z, because the Frieza saga looped for fucking 4 years on TV or however long it was, I went on to watch Cell and Boo, mostly in subs from my uncle. So I think that's why
you just brought that up.
Yeah. Why?
That like the Frieza saga was playing a whole lot over and over. And I feel like this is the reason why a lot of people believe the Frieza saga is longer than what it was, because we literally did the Frieza saga, and we knocked that out in probably three episodes, because we only did like 10 apiece. And I was like, I swear this was so much longer than this, because I was like, we were gonna have to spend like 2 months on this, and I was like, oh, this is so much quicker. So it has to be something about how they were releasing them and doing that. I don't know if they had like the licenses to keep putting out new episodes and stuff like that.
Basically, what happened was they did, up to that point in the Frieza arc, they did it all in Canada with the original Ocean group, but Funimation was overseeing it. So Funimation and Ocean Dub were kind of concurrent in those early dub days. And then Funimation and what the fuck's his name? I can't fucking remember the guy's name who ran Funimation for forever. He just recently retired. He decided to move it into the States and move it to Texas, because I think the Canadian actors were union in some way, shape, or form. So that was kind of expensive, but at least it wasn't like Hollywood union shit. So they figured out where to go in the United States that was affordable for them to do it. They could hire a bunch of non-union actors and just pay like day rates for voice actors to come in. And that's when the change was made. But while they were setting all of that up, they like ran out of fucking episodes that they dubbed while they're trying to make this transition to this new studio headquarters. And that's why you got to that certain point in the Frieza arc, and it was like 5 minutes. I don't even remember where the fuck it broke off, honestly. And it just loops right back to Raditz. And they did that, maybe not 4 years, that's dramatic, but it probably at least 2 years, if not maybe even a little bit longer than that.
Wow. And we had to keep rewatching that, thinking like, God damn, this is the longest 5 minutes ever in those fucking anime fights ever. But if you actually get to watch it out, I'm not gonna say it's an accurate 5 minutes, but it's a lot quicker than what we thought it was.
I was like real scared. I was scared to watch some of the Frieza stuff for your show, dude, on that recap. I've done a few of the recaps with you, and I'm just like, you want me to watch 12 episodes of the fucking Frieza saga? Are you mad at me? Why are you gonna do that to me? That's gonna take 5 years. You know what I mean? Because it does just feel automatically so much longer when you know it's that stretch of those episodes. But we had a good time doing it.
It goes by so fast. I don't know why he always do that. It's be like one day that I literally spend watching episodes and they'll be done.
I just don't have the attention span to sit there for like more than maybe 2 hours before I'm like, but 2 hours,
that's 4 episodes.
That's at least 4 episodes. You could probably fit 5 or 6 if you're fucking skipping intros, outros, recaps, which is what I have to do when I watch those episodes when it's for your show.
I mean, I skip parts that I'll be like, oh, I already seen this. Like, I already know a lot about it. So I'll
you just skip randomly? Nah, you can't skip randomly through the narrative. You can cut out the shit. I get it. Fuck the theme song. I've heard it literally 1 million times in my life. Also, Doggy Kitty Zenkai Power. Heard that shit too. Also, I just watched this episode. I don't need the recap. I've automatically cut off at least like 5 to 6 minutes of the recap of the episode. And now I've got like 18 to 19 minutes of anime worth of watching. And that's what I'm saying. While I'm doing these rewatches for your show, that's the math that I'm doing in my head. It's annoying. Hey, you know what else I wanted to get your opinion on?
What? What? I'm sorry. I thought you were gonna say it, and we
I was waiting for you to say what, man.
Oh, okay. I was like, oh.
Let's try it again. Hey, you know what else I wanted to get your opinion on?
What, man?
Super Dragon Ball Hero.
What are they doing? A season 2?
No, man, they're discontinuing the arcade game in Japan, which literally has little to no effect on us here in America, because we've, for some fucking reason, in the long history of that game, like 12, 13, 14 years, I think it may have been, they never once thought to bring one over to the States and like see if they could like catch, some arcade traction, but whatever, who cares? They're discontinuing that game, and they're going to be starting pretty much the same exact game in what's called Dragon Ball Super Divers. So Dragon Ball Super Divers will be the new card-based. I don't know why they're calling it Super Divers. It's such a strange. I don't have any details as to why that's the title, but it's going to be the new like arcade card-based game where you have to go out and buy packages of cards to be able to play them in the game while you're in the arcade. And
I got some Dragon Ball cards too. That's funny. I don't know if I got them on my desk like I did before, but I literally have some Dragon Ball cards. And I was like, when I got them, I was like, I didn't know you can actually make a whole game like with this. I will never take the time to learn it. I'll be honest with you. Stuff like that, that never really interests me. But I just bought the cards because I was like, oh, interesting.
I bought a lot of those cards when I was a kid. Never learned to play the game. Same thing with Pokemon. Bought the Pokemon cards. Never learned how to play the game for real.
I just play cards. I just be playing. This should win. I'm thinking, like, what's the difference?
Yeah, this Pikachu is totally gonna blast this Squirtle out of the water because electric beats water type. So I win, nerd. Hey, did you hear about the Dragon Ball theme park that they're gonna open in Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, I heard about that. Mad. Why the fuck they putting that in Saudi Arabia when they know it's way bigger here in the States and we love that here in Ohio? I'm not saying Ohio would be a nice place for them to pit it because we don't have nothing, but California, New York, y'all could have put that shit over here. You gonna send that shit all the way over there to them sand people? Let me take that back. You gonna send that stuff all the way over there? I'm kind of angry.
I'm kind of angry too. However, I don't think you are as angry as me. So I brought this up for a very specific reason. Members of the Patreon will know that there is what I'll refer to now as a new lost episode of Super Dope that has been recorded in the last 2 months that talks about this piece of news, the Saudi Arabia Dragon Ball Z theme park. Also, it talks about content creators who tried to predict the coming back of the manga because of some dumb shit. And I was so aggravated with them because they're like, look, guys, in May, it's coming back. And I literally hit several of them up just to be like, listen, this is why it says that, and you're wrong, and you're an idiot, and you're doing this because you don't have anything else to get fucking clicks on today. What is your fucking problem? I'm gonna have to deal with fucking dummies for the next 4 goddamn months thinking this shit's coming back because you just fucking said this here, and you know, and I know that you're wrong. Sure enough, within maybe 4 days of me fucking making this fucking thing, this rant, which you can tell I'm obviously very angry about still. Within like 4 days, they were like, sorry, everybody, we had bad information. No shit, you had bad information. Why don't you just fucking wait for somebody to tell you an official thing? Whatever.
Yeah, I think I know what we're talking about when they started saying the manga was coming back.
Very annoying. Very annoying.
He even hit me up because I think I reposted something Super Bomber said, and he was like, oh, that's bullshit, right? I think I even got the message.
That's how she's getting her fucking money today, right? Like, that's the shit that she has to send around today. Oh, good Dragon Ball news. No, it's not. And you probably know in your heart that it's not, but you still had to fucking beat the quota today. Fuck off, dude. I hate that shit. If you want to hear me yell about that for like an hour and a half with Hayden and Noah, my friend Noah, who we just had on the advice pod this past week, there's a link in the show notes. It's a Patreon exclusive. I'm sorry, you'll have to sign up if you want to hear it. Support the show, Dingleberries.
It must be an interesting episode if it's behind glass doors.
The thing is, dude, I started thinking like, oh yeah, I can edit that down. I can probably chop some of the fucking crazy over the top yelling shit. And then I just kept playing it back in my head, not even listening to the actual recording. I just thought about the conversation that I had with Hayden and Noah, and I'm like, I can't even bring myself to try to edit it. I don't want to listen to myself flip the fuck out that much. So not worth it. Not fucking worth it. Anyway, Saudi Arabia, huh? What do you think that's about? Money laundering, maybe? I don't know.
They probably just had the money, the space. To have it. Is it closer? Probably closer to Japan. I don't have a map in front of me. I'm hoping. It seems like it'll be on that side of the water. I don't know if that has anything to do
other
with
side of the water, but like other side of the continent. So it's not going to be a very convenient trek for literally anybody. I just think it's so interesting that all of this shit has been announced. Like they've pitched the idea of them doing a Dragon Ball theme park in the past. Toriyama was like, "Nah, I'm good."
Now
Dude's
they can
in the ground. 3 weeks he's in the ground, and they're like, "Hey, Saudi Arabia, you're the highest bidder because you need tourism like destinations. Yeah, man, you win the Dragon Ball theme park sweepstakes."
And to me, that's really interesting if that's the route they're going, because I wonder who's able to make those decisions. Is it his son or his wife or anything, or if it's just the creators? Because I always know like he always had a bunch of people with him that helped make Dragon Ball like what it was. So I don't know if they now have more power to make these decisions, which to me is such ass bullshit. If you knew Toriyama when he was alive didn't want that shit. Now you're like, oh, now we can make that money. He the motherfucker that was messing up the money. Like, we could be billionaires. He had us at millionaires type shit, which it's great bullshit. Because at the end of the day, I honestly believe you really need whatever this man is with Dragon Ball for it to keep going. Like, if he really didn't leave no notes, I don't even think you can keep Super going. To be honest with you,
you can. Hey, first fucking Elton John disruption of the day. You know Rocket Man, right?
Yeah, I know Rocket Man.
All right, just wanted to be sure. It just came on my fucking ears.
I'm a Rocket Man. Does it sound like that?
Rocket Man.
Yeah.
Running down the street of heaven. All right, word. We're on the same page there. Hey, I don't actually know how the Toriyama thing is going to work now, because he was not only like one of the most prolific in terms of his impact of work, but he was like also a little bit like higher up in the earnings column for a mangaka in Japan. And I think a lot of that has to do with he sold pieces of his ownership to, I could be fucking not explaining this properly, so take this with a grain of salt, but this is sort of how I understand it to work based off of what other people have said. He was rich because he sold pieces of his ownership stake back to the publishing companies. So in this case, I guess it would be people like Toei, maybe like some merchandising rights to a company like Bandai. I'm not really sure. Maybe pieces to Shonen Jump. But he still retained ownership of it, at least in some part. And from what I understand, if you're the original author of the thing and you have that ownership stake, like he still had a stake. It ultimately was like his word. It kind of trumps all else because he was the original author. So a thing, even if he doesn't, maybe he owns 30% of Dragon Ball and the other entities own the combined 70%. He still owns the veto to be like, nah, fuck that idea. And I think maybe the idea of a Dragon Ball theme park back then was an idea that he said, fuck that to. And now that 30%, whatever hypothetical number we're assigning to it, now that it belongs to his estate, meaning his wife and his son, I believe he also has a daughter, but a lot of people think Sasuke Toriyama is going to be the guy to like step up and kind of be the voice for the family. Not to like write the comic or whatever, but to like be the guy who's like, yes, no, maybe I'm the heir of Toriyama. And, I understand what my dad's vision or purpose was in the show. I assume is what the role is going to be. But also, that don't mean Sasuke Toriyama don't fucking like money, man. He's like, dude, Dragon Ball theme park, Saudi Arabia, they're going to give us how much money? Thumbs up. Like, I feel like that's probably how it came to be.
If his son name is Sasuke, that's interesting. Because now it's making me wonder if Naruto, because we know the creator of Naruto is a huge Toriyama fan. I wonder if that name came from his son or if Toriyama got the name from that. I wonder if there's a correlation, because that's pretty cool.
His son was born before Naruto, but also I feel like Sasuke is kind of a common
is it a common
Japanese name? I could think of at least one of there's a character in Ranma with the first name Sasuke, so I feel like it's kind of I saw a dude on Instagram the other day, his first name was Sasuke and he just calls himself Ske, which I thought was
see, I didn't know if that was a big thing.
Like
I just thought
word.
that would be interesting.
So that's most of the Dragon Ball news that I've got. You have any? Oh, you actually, you know what? We totally fucking glossed over, dude. And there's not much to say about it. But the voice actor of Yamcha, man, he's a 71-year-old Greek.
Yeah, you were talking about this yesterday.
Yeah, and I thought that you guys had heard about it. I made a joke about Yamcha, and you guys are like, "What in the fuck are you talking about?" It says here, Toru Furuya. Toru Furuya. He's the voice actor of Amuro Ray. I don't know what that is. Tuxedo Mask from fucking Sailor Moon. Yamcha, and many other famous roles. He confesses to having an affair with a female fan 37 years his junior that resulted in a terminated pregnancy and at least one physical altercation.
Well, does the 37, if you subtract the years, does that still make her an adult, or is she underage?
Yeah, I think she's like 33 or 34, I think would be the math. If
you subtract the years, I thought you said that's how old she was now. I'm like, was she one? Like,
no. Yeah, so it seems like he had this affair. Maybe it was recently, I don't know, but the girl now, if it's 37 years his junior, he's a 71-year-old man. That would put this girl now in the current day around 33, 34. So if this happened within the last 5 to 10 years, which I think is, potentially within that time frame. That would put her between 23 and 33, and he's an old man in his fucking 60s, 70s getting his dick wet with 20 and 30-year-olds.
What's the problem? I don't understand.
He made her get an abortion, which...
How did he make her get an abortion?
I don't know, strongly suggested it, but also the other one, at least one physical altercation, as I guess he beat the shit out of her. They don't like really share the details of it, but he admits to having beaten her at least once and making her get a pregnancy terminated, and that it's an affair, like, from his longtime wife.
Okay, this is
my question is like, what makes him come out and say this now? Because I'm not really sure what the impetus is.
That is kind of crazy interesting. Maybe he was just feeling guilt and was like, maybe I need to let something off my chest, which this is an interesting thing to just let out, especially with the type of movement. But I don't know how this, because sometimes we also got to realize that sometimes things that are big in the United States isn't always big in other countries. Because I think Thailand just hit the LGBT community with a big one when they said they think that whole like community is just a mental illness, and that's what they declared it over there in their country. So I mean, you're
talking about Thailand hating fucking trans people? Yeah,
So
they
definitely do. I'm not gonna say.
And what's strange is that they have such a high population of trans people there, in comparison to what we have in the States. Say,
I would just say you just don't know how other countries are taking it. So I don't know how big of a deal this actually is in Japan. Like over here, we hear that and it's like,
culture-wise, yeah.
That's what I'm trying to like.
I feel like
a random news thing over there, and over here we're making a way bigger deal of it.
I feel like it must be maybe 20, 30 years ago. It wouldn't have been as big a deal in Japan, and it would have been like very commonplace and maybe not even thought about.
Actually, is this even in Japan? Because he's a voice actor from where?
He's the Japanese voice actor of Yamcha.
Oh, okay. I thought you said he was.
I actually wanted to read off a couple of his other roles because he's been doing shit for forever. He started working years active, 1958 to present. This guy started his voice acting career when he was literally 5 years old. How wild is that, man?
Man must got that cheddar. And then you got to think it's only just your voice, and then how anime is created. You can literally go from they make all type of characters.
Yeah. He was, let's see, Mobile Suit Gundam as Amuro Ray. That's what I said before that I wasn't sure what it was from. He was in Saint Seiya as Pegasus Seiya.
Okay.
Dragon Ball as Yamcha.
That's a big
Kimoguri Orange Road as Kyosuke Kasuga. I don't know
see if I can get him on the pod.
You think you're going to learn how to speak Japanese for the interview?
I'm going to do my best. He could be saying anything when I'm asking him questions. I'll be like,
Sailor Moon, Tuxedo Mask, One Piece. He was Sabo.
He's Sabo?
Yeah.
From One Piece?
Yeah.
Oh, he fucking up.
Detective Conan.
I want to go lose that. That's interesting.
Also, he did Super Mario Bros. The Great Mission to Rescue Princess Peach. He was Mario.
Oh, you know what's now that you say that, I feel like I did hear something about the Sabo actor. Something about him like, that's interesting. And it's crazy that I hear it from One Piece and then hear it from Dragon Ball. Man, that's
I mean, he's that dude. He's got that kind of voice acting resume. So that
is a nice resume, but I hope damn, that's probably fucking up the money right there. I don't know who his agent was. If I was his agent, as soon as that statement came out, I would have dropped his ass. I'm like, we don't even represent that motherfucker.
He put the statement out himself for some reason.
That's why we don't represent that motherfucker. We don't know he was doing all that crazy shit.
Yeah.
And one thing I do want to say though, I like if you are like a younger woman and you're dating like these older men, try to go for someone that you can beat up, someone that's gonna die soon. Don't get in these relationships and you getting beat up by an 80-year-old. To me, that's really crazy. It's like, I don't know. I don't want to like say like nothing too crazy and people think like, oh, he has no empathy in a situation, but it's still like a crazy situation. You got to kind of think she low-key put herself in this. It's not like she just woke up.
Don't be victim blaming Raysean. She got beat up by a fucking elderly man who's been in the entertainment industry.
I didn't say nothing was anyone's fault.
You said she put herself in that situation. You knock it the fuck off.
I'm saying she put herself in a situation of dating that older man. That's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Hey man,
You
There's
put yourself
probably
in that
some normal
situation.
old men out there dating 30-plus-year-old women. What are we talking
that's
about here?
That's why when in the beginning when you said that, I was like, why? What's the big deal? Until you start adding on the extra, he beat her and stuff like that. Then I'm like, oh, that's crazy. But because in my head, I'm thinking like 80. Like if an 80-year-old woman was coming at me and I'm like 20, I will whoop her ass. Like I don't know. Like if I'm just thinking like, oh, I don't know, man. I guess women aren't as physical, but I feel like you still be able to.
Second Elton
give
John
some
interlude.
hands.
Fucking stop talking about beating up old ladies, Raysean. You took the age from 37 years difference to 60 years difference, pretty much. Obviously, we're going to be beating the shit out of old ladies 60 years older than us. Also, Elton John, Crocodile Rock. Do you know it?
I don't think I know that one.
It's a classic. You're going to hear it and be like, oh, yeah, I probably heard this one somewhere. Like, sometimes they play at like sporting arenas and shit. It's a good fucking sing-along song.
Okay. What's the chorus?
Go
ahead. A lot of you guys forget, Kyle, he is a professional singer on the weekends. I guess is this your vocal warm-ups or this is what you're doing for us today?
Bro, you don't know the chorus to Crocodile Rock? All right, listen.
That's the chorus?
I swear to God, yes, that is the chorus. Obviously, I sang it like an obnoxious douchebag, but yes, that is the chorus.
I thought he was literally like doing a vocal warm-up. We're like,
No, that was me singing the chorus to Crocodile Rock. Y'all are welcome. I don't think that there's any other super notable Dragon Ball news.
Well, is that the voice you be using when you go out and sing?
No, dude.
Okay, I don't
Do you think I would have gotten hired fucking every week for 20 years if that's really how I sang?
Was you just volunteering?
Once, dude, they'd have been like, thanks, that was enough. See you again, never.
You're like, that's Rocket Man, is it?
Real talk, dude. I've had some people play with me in the past that like play instruments, but also they sing a little bit. So they sing, every now and again. And I have had bar owners come up to me and be like, hey, man, really fun night. That guy, though, you can just come without him next time, right? Terrible shit.
That's funny.
Yeah. Let's see. I got no more Dragon Ball news, I don't think. I heard there was a new DLC for Xenoverse 2. Wild, that shit's still coming out. Fucking 7-8 years later. Good for them. What else? Have you watched the new episodes of My Hero Academia?
Not yet. I'm literally kind of waiting for that to kind of all the episodes to play out so I can kind of binge it. I got like 3 series. I'm kind of trying to wait to kind of like play out, then binge them. And that's one of them. X-Men, I was kind of waiting for, but I'm literally right now kind of caught up in a Dragon Ball. I was a little caught up in that with the marathon we was watching, but right now I'm probably about to be rewatching Haikyuu for the movie coming out. So I might slide in some more X-Men. It depends. It really depends if the next few episodes can get me, because I'm not gonna lie, it's just some slow moments. It's some slow. It's kind of slow.
So?
It's like it's like some moments where it's kind of
back up. Pause on X-Men real quick. MHA, I love watching it week to week. I love having that fucking 20 minutes of pure like yes, and then like wondering what's gonna happen for the next week. I like watching it weekly. I think the 4th episode may have dropped today. Actually, I haven't checked. I haven't watched it yet, obviously. But the first 3 episodes, man, holy shit, dude! And like, I think at the end of season 6, they give a hint as to this character, Stars in Stripe, that's about to come into the mix. And she's like an old friend of All Might and all this shit. Heavily featured in the first few episodes. And it is one of the most hardcore anime fights that I've ever been like somehow emotionally invested in, despite the fact that I don't really know who's the protagonist in this. Like I have an idea of who she is, but like seeing her fucking do this big battle in the first 2 episodes.
They've been doing that a lot lately, because the last season they started with a big battle, and that battle was insane. Especially when you had that bunny going in there. I can never remember her name. That hero, when she was basically going there jumping all those clones and those emo things. That was crazy, because especially to me, the level in violence and gore that these fights have went to, is really showing you, yeah, these quirks aren't to be fucked with. Like, if you ain't really able to handle it, you will die in these fights. Like, and they're showing you that.
So that's like, I don't know, me, you know, we obviously did Super Dope Plus Ultra for a few different years, me and Kelly, but maybe we'll do a couple of My Hero episodes throughout the season just to kind of do like brief like chunks of the season recap. That might be fun.
Yeah, we can do that.
I imagine Kelly, dude, that'd be a fun way to get together with Kelly too. I imagine she's watching them, but I haven't talked to her in a few weeks. So that'd be a good thing to do, I think, in the future. But moving from one superhero world to another superhero world, X-Men 97, we're not going to talk spoilers. If we do, it'll be like broad general strokes that don't give anything specific away. But I was excited for the show when it first got announced, to the point where I went back and watched most of the original X-Men series, which I watched all of when I was a kid. But I like picked through it real casual. I only did most of the first 4 seasons, because season 5, Saban fucking changes the animation crews and it gets real choppy and shitty, and it's just not pleasing to look at. But 97 picks up exactly where that series leaves off, and like that series is good. The original series is good. X-Men 97 is fucking 20 times better than it.
This is pretty good. I think they really making Cyclops look pretty dope. That's somebody as X-Men, I felt like always been like a secondary X-Men. Well, something you told me too, I guess Fox was really showing Wolverine more than the whole group as an X-Men, which I agree with, because the one thing I noticed is how much it seemed like Wolverine is actually a secondary in these episodes. And that's like, damn, I'm surprised Wolverine doesn't really have more of a bigger role. But I'm still in the early stages of it right now, so I don't know if it's going to develop into something bigger.
I don't think that you've gotten to the turning point of the season yet.
No.
And I think it's episode 5 or 6 is the turning point of the season.
Yeah, because I still don't even know like the person that they went to go get, his abilities yet.
So this television show has been, I think, the biggest weakness of it. You said it has some slow moments. I couldn't disagree. Actually, that's a lie. And I for a couple of reasons, right? So it has slow moments when you binge it, because there are so many fucking fast moments, crazy fast moments. They cover so many story arcs from certain parts of the comics and like combine them in cool ways. But they do a few story arcs from the comics that took the course of 6 to 12 months over the years that they were being released, at least, you know? And they do them in like an episode and a half, 2 episodes. So when you're binging it the way you do, and I binged, I think 7 of the 8 episodes before they got to the finale. It's 10 episodes in total. Me, my dad, and my uncle sat down and watched like the first 8 episodes together one Friday a few weeks ago. And there were moments where we were like, man, we should have skipped this episode. This is taking a really long time. That's not to say the episodes aren't good, but if you watch them episodically, I think the breathing moments are kind of necessary. But when you're fucking taking it in the main vein, man, and you're watching all this shit happen at once, play the next one. You're on episode 4 and you're like, oh, okay, this is what they're going to do today. What the fuck? A Jubilee episode. Like, this is kind of filler-ish, you know? But I'm so fucking excited. I said this to my dad and uncle the other day. I was like, what always drove me nuts about, maybe not even drove me nuts, but like the reason that everyone fucking loves the Avengers is because it's all these superpower heroes coming together, combining their fucking efforts to defeat the big bad. You got Iron Man, and you got the Hulk, and you've got Captain America, and you've got Thor, and the best of the best heroes. That dynamic is the default of the X-Men. The X-Men is no one singular person, no matter how much fucking Fox Entertainment wanted you to believe that it was mostly fucking Wolverine. The dynamic of the X-Men, the default dynamic, is the team and how they combine their stuff and how they work together, how they respect each other, agree, disagree. I mean, the X-Men is also a very fucking gay-coded soap opera at times, as is a lot of the stuff that you see going on in X-Men 97, especially between fucking Xavier and Magneto. It's so, especially, I'm not even going to ruin anything. I don't want to get spoilerish. It's very gay coded though. And now that I've said that to you, you won't help but be able to see it.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you'll fucking be like, hey, Kyle, I saw the gay shit you were talking about. But I say all of that because I genuinely think this is the greatest thing. You could probably debate this, but for me, at least, it's my favorite thing that Marvel has ever done as an entertainment studio. That includes things like Endgame. That includes things like Infinity War, Captain America 2, the Guardians movies, some of the peak of fucking Ragnarok, some of the peak Marvel shit. I think this X-Men series, I liked it more than any of that. But also, I come from a time, aka the 90s, where the X-Men and Spider-Man were like the default biggest Marvel fucking heroes out there. Nobody gave a fuck about Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, the Hulk. The Hulk maybe. Iron Man, dude? No way. Nobody gave a shit about those were B list at best over the X-Men and Spider-Man. And I liked I liked some of the Fox X-Men movies and it was cool, but when the MCU came together and it was like, I can't believe we're building this world without the X-Men involved, it was always like a little bit of a bittersweet thing. It's like, it's cool they made it work and they figured it out. But man, imagine if the X-Men were here. And that's why I can't fucking wait for the eventual, reboot of the MCU after Secret Wars or whatever it is. And all the universes get erased or whatever, however they work it. And they can finally fucking start from the beginning with them all there. And I can get a motherfucking Hulk versus Wolverine or a fucking Wolverine and Captain America movie. I can get an OG X-Men movie. Maybe it's fucking time set specific in like the 60s or whatever when they originally put together. But give me those fucking 5 X-Men together. Beast, Angel, Iceman, Jean Grey and Scott meeting Professor Xavier. They're all like teenagers in their fucking OG suits. Dude, give me those fucking movies and then make them meet. Make Johnny Storm and fucking Spider-Man hang out for a while. Like, that'd be so much fun. Bring the Fantastic Four. I can't wait for the fucking eventual reset. X-Men 97, I think, is a tremendous tease of things to come, especially if they treat it with care, such as Bo DeMayo did. We were just talking on the phone before we recorded, and we're pretty much coming up on the end of this episode, but the elephant in the room for X-Men is Bo DeMayo. He wrote all of season 1, and I guess he outlined and wrote most of season 2, which is great because it's season 2, I bet, will be hopefully as good as season 1, but it's kind of out of his hands now. But he got fired, and nobody knows why. He got fired shortly before the show premiered. Nobody really said anything. He didn't come out and say anything, although he's been very vocal on Twitter, making commentary about the show as episodes have been released to like answer questions for viewers. And he was giving out like homework assignments and shit. Like, hey guys, for the next episode, rewatch this episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation. And then it's like a thing in that episode reminds you of the thing in the next coming X-Men episode. He was really interactive with the community and like hyping the show up. But like the rumor is it's one of two things. I heard he's a super fucking diva. He is a super jacked gay black man. So I only say that because I don't know. I feel like it's kind of relevant given the two things that he's rumored to have been fired for. The first one is he's a really difficult person to work with. He's a diva, puts himself first, and thinks that he's the fucking hottest shit in the room. And honestly, that sucks to hear. But also, if I wrote a fucking thing like X-Men 97 season 1, I'd probably be feeling myself too. So I don't know. Hopefully he can get his ego in check and manage that shit a little bit better. Because if that's the reason you got fired, because you're an asshole to the people who work with you, you know, you kind of did it to yourself, dude. I don't care how fucking great you are at what you do. You can at least make the attempt to be a half fucking decent human being. What do we say? Don't be a butt cheek. Like it's so easy to at least try. But the other thing, and I think that this is the more likely thing, because I feel like they'd be fine with diva behavior if it netted them a product like X-Men 97. But the second thing is, and weirdly, dude, they knew this before they hired him. Gay black man, super in shape. He's got an OnlyFans with, I guess, some like real risque photos on them. I don't know if he's going like full dong on there, but you know, he's posing shirtless and shit like that, I guess. I don't know. He had this before Disney hired him to write the X-Men. He'd written on, I think it was The Witcher. He wrote on The Witcher when Henry Cavill was there for the first couple of seasons and got so fucking fed up with working on that show because none of the writers, it's the same reason that Henry Cavill left, actually. He got so fucking fed up working on that show because none of the writers or the directors ever played the games or read the books or do anything about the source material. And they all kind of low-key thought it was stupid. And he's just like, dude, fuck this. The Witcher is cool as fuck, and you guys are a nightmare to work with, and you're going to make this show terrible. So he quit. And then I think a year or two later, he was hired to write the X-Men. In between that, though, he had this OnlyFans thing rolling, and Disney still hired him. So why would they hire or fire him preemptively before it gets released? It's like a weird thing. They never said anything about why. He never said anything about why. I'm real hopeful that like they put next season together. It goes well off of his outline. And then they want to do a season 3, obviously. I think they've already approved it for up to 4 seasons. But my hope is that so long as he's not a giant fucking piece of shit, that they'll rehire him and have him oversee it, because that dude fucking understands the X-Men at its core. And holy shit, was X-Men 97 such an amazing fucking season of television, dude. I can't wait. Actually, I'm kind of sad now that it's over. Anyway, Ray, I think I don't have anything else to say. Do I? Oh, actually, I do. I did a big, long, before the finale of 97, me and Anthony Gramuglia, who's been on Super Dope in the past, it's been at least 2 or 3 years, he'd come on. I think I'd like to take credit for his success right now, just for a brief second. He wrote a couple of articles about Dragon Ball back in like 2018, 2019. And he was on my radar, and then the Weeb Wars happened, and he and I became friends on Twitter. And I was like, dude, this kid's funny. He's very smart. And he came on Super Dope a bunch of times. But I had always told him, I'm like, dude, why don't you do video essays on YouTube? You're smart, dude. You're a good writer. Why don't you do video essays on YouTube? Fucking finally, at some point in the last 6 to 12 months, he started doing video essays on YouTube, and he's fucking blowing up, dude. Oh my God. He's like hit all the he's had a couple of big videos pop off with like a couple 100,000 views. Like, I'm so
that's crazy. You got to tell him to shout out the Vice Pod.
Well, I went on his live stream a couple of weeks back, and we talked about X-Men. So I'm going to put a link. If you've watched the show, listen to that one. I think we did it was the first 9 episodes. Because we did it in anticipation of the season finale. So we're talking, it's mostly spoiler shit, but a lot of other random X-Men shit scattered throughout. If you watched it, it's a safe watch. I'll put a link in the show notes to that. But shout out to Ant. I actually I'm going to have him come on the Advice Pod with us at some point in the next few weeks. I don't know. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that. If you want to see more X-Men conversation, there's a link there for that. Go check it out. And then lastly, we are working on the Advice Pod a bunch. That organic YouTube growth is happening. If you haven't subscribed to the Advice Pod on YouTube, even if you listen to it on Apple or Spotify, go subscribe on YouTube so you can help us hit that next subscriber goal. We're, I think, 7 away from my May goal number. I'm not going to say what that number is, but I'm 7 away from it. So go help me out. Go subscribe if you haven't already. But what about Dragon Ball Super Dope, the show that you're listening to right now? We haven't put out an episode in almost 2 months. And I say we, but it's really just me. Hey, funny thing, side note, I went on Pod Notes, Listen Notes, that's what it's called, Listen Notes the other day. It's a podcast search engine, basically. And you put in like a name of a show or a topic or whatever, and it'll give you all the results and give it like listener scores. And I pulled up Super Dope the other day. I pulled up the Advice Pod first to see how it looked and how it presented. And then I was like, oh, what does Super Dope look like? I haven't looked at that on this website in probably a couple years. And it's like Dragon Ball Super Dope releases every 27 days or some shit. I like did the math out. Then I was like, hosts, Kyle, Raysean, GB, Hayden. And I was like, oh, wow, that has been what my show has been most of the last couple of years, is me and these 3 chuckle fucks. I mean, you're not a chuckle fuck, but Hayden, GB. We don't even call GB anymore. He's back to being called Leonard. What the fuck? We've come full circle on the Leonard to GB to Leonard pipeline. That's fucking wild. All a very long way to say episodes of Dragon Ball Super Dope will continue to come out. I do still plan on doing that GT thing at some point before Daima comes out. So I need to get to work on that, but I've just been spread a little thin. So keep checking in. Obviously, if you're subscribed, you'll get the notification if a new episode comes out. But that Advice Pod, man, that shit's funny. And it drops a new podcast episode literally every day, Monday through Friday. Wouldn't you rather have 5 new podcasts to dopamine hits in your brain each morning when you wake up at 6 a.m. versus just the one random super dope upload once every 2 to 4 weeks. I mean, come on, people. It's math. It's math. It's math. All right, so that's going to do it for Super Dope. I appreciate everybody listening. Make sure you rate and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. We actually lost 3 subscribers on the Dragon Ball YouTube this month, which I think is funny. I don't know what I did. I didn't release any new content, maybe. Ray, you got anything you want to plug before we get out of here?
Yes, I want to plug the Raysean Gatson Anime Podcast. I know of maybe a few of you know that I come from that podcast. That is my original podcast. I do come on here a lot, and you may think that I am a co-host of this podcast, which you probably can call me an honorary
In my heart,
host.
you are, but GB and Hayden too? Come on, dude. They're recurring characters at best.
Which is, it's interesting that it has that information. I wonder if somebody actually listens to the podcast and like does that, or if it's like a computer program.
Exactly. It's a computer program that pulls the most commonly occurring names out of the show notes, and those are the 4 most common names: me, you, GB, Hayden.
Man, that's pretty dope. I'm gonna have to look and see what mine say, because I've never really looked at it with stuff like that. But for my podcast, we've been doing a lot of interviews with voiceover actors, basically learning a lot about the voiceover industries and also about why they chose certain characters and everything. So if you want to listen to that, we've had a lot of great guests on that. And we also been doing a lot of Dragon Ball Z marathon, watching the episodes, re-going through it and doing nostalgia. So if you want to hear Kyle talk about some Dragon Ball, and he hasn't talked about it recently on the show, but you can listen to my show and hear some. And actually, the funny thing that I was thinking about, his Patreons are more updated on the show than my actual people on my podcast, because we need one more episode out to actually be caught up. So I thought that was
this is the way I look at it. And also third, I think Elton John disruption. I got the OG Benny and the Jets going in my brains right now, and dude, it's so good. But also maybe check out Philadelphia Freedom, which is like a little 80s kind of bop, but like it's kind of fun when you get to the full chorus. Philadelphia Freedom. Philadelphia Freedom's a banger. I feel like the trade-off when I come on our gap is because I have to watch like 3 to 4 hours worth of Dragon Ball Z shit and then not hang like in a bad way, but like it takes like an hour and a half, sometimes upwards of 2 hours to do the review. That's like 6 fucking hours, dude. So, and we also use my StreamYard to record it, because I'm not going to, if I'm involved, I'm not letting you record on Skype, right? I'm just not letting you do it. I'm sorry. But then I have the audio file right there, and I'm like, well, the 8 dudes who have been paying me to make, support Super Dope, we'll say, over the years, they probably want to hear this shit. Maybe they got nothing to listen to at work tomorrow. Kyle Cleghorn listens to that shit immediately. I opened up Patreon last night to upload that shit. I had 40 fucking 5 notifications. Kyle Cleghorn was 43 of them.
Wow, that's crazy. I love you, Kyle. I love that.
Dude, he is the fucking guy who keeps the show going in the background behind the scenes. He doesn't even know that he does, but he does. If you want to support us on Patreon, though, you get that uncut stuff. This one's going to go up right now, so this might come out at some point in the next 4 to 5 days. We'll see. We'll see if I get around to it. I hope this does not become another lost episode of Super Dope, although I feel like I didn't do any crazy angry rants, which is sick. Again, if you want to hear me yell about Saudi Arabia Dragon Ball theme parks, links in the show notes. Go sign up for the Patreon, support us. I still post shit there, is my point. I post shit there more frequently than I post shit on my actual public Dragon Ball Super Dope feed. How about that? That's the math. All right, cool. I sing a song now. I am told that's how I end these.
Raysean is the greatest. Thanks, man.
You like cut out a couple notes toward the end, but then the thanks kind of hit the last note. Like that was I'm supposed to sing a song right now.